And we are live yet again. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Golden Ticket Show, our college football preview shows. This week is the SEC. I'm here with my good friends, Joe Winkle, Stevie Fast Breaks, the Don Corleone, and Kyle Schwarber's number one fan, Kev. Fellas, how we doing today?
Hanging in there.
We're out here, man. Supporter.
We're out here, man. Back in your life, like a Southern person trying to fight someone at a tailgate. We're out here.
Like a white woman in Nashville. We're so back.
We're so back. Well, did they ever leave? My column. Coming up next.
Check out our newsletter for Doug's musings on white women in Nashville.
Check the Substack.
Yeah, check that out.
Steve's gonna have like a 10-page thesis.
Coming up next, why Nashville has passed Panama City as the spring bait capital of the world.
Okay. Enough of white women nonsense on this show. I say as my fiance just walked right into the door.
What the?
He can say that. I can't.
Hey, I might need to stop coming in during these intros, man.
Yeah.
I feel like y'all start the show, it's nice and smooth, and I walk in, hit the fan. It's hit the fan, and we're 2 minutes in.
All right, well, let's get right into it. So we're going to be breaking down every team in the SEC, our previews, best bets, futures to look out for. As always, before we begin, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the video. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, pretty much every social media platform at For Frequency's Sake. You can also follow all of these guys at C Jones Who, Heels 0809, Joe the Show Winkle, and Fast Breaks, giving out best bets every single day. And as we get closer to the season, I know Joe's going to have a lot of football content coming out. But nonetheless, let's get right on into it. We're going to start with the Bama Crimson Tide. What's up,
If
Joe?
I may, real quick, speaking, I was going to say I should have brought us in with back in your life like an angry, depressed Alabama fan poisoning a maple tree, but I missed my opportunity for that. So speaking of Alabama.
So looking at the Alabama schedule here, we Florida State, Louisiana Monroe, Wisconsin, at Georgia, at Missouri, home against Tennessee and Vandy, home against LSU, and at Auburn are the big notable games here. They are currently second best odds to win the SEC conference at plus 350. Over under is set at 9.5. Kev, how do we feel on the Tide?
I feel good about him, honestly. Second season under DeBoer, he brought back his assistant from Washington, helped with the play calling. They brought back a good sizable amount of their team. I know it's a new quarterback in Ty Simpson. We're not really sure, what he's going to be. But you have, one of the best wide receiver corps in college football, one of the best offensive lines in college football, solid backfield, defense, particularly at linebacker and D-back, I think are really good. And as far as the schedule-wise, I honestly think they escaped a little bit. I mean, yeah, they do have to go to Georgia. But outside of that, you get LSU at home. You get Tennessee at home. Florida State on the road. I don't think any of us think that's really going to be that big of a challenge for them. Their other non-conference, Wisconsin, is coming to them this year, and they dominated them last year in Madison. So for me, I know the line that I got was 9.5. I got it over. I took the over. I think they're 10-2. I think they lose to Georgia, and I actually think South Carolina gets them this year in Columbia. So I think they lose 2 road games and win all their home games.
Not to plug myself, but I will, because that's what we do here on the Substack. Alabama is already written up from your boy. All the other ones will be open by the end of this week. But I actually, just to chime in really quick, I have them at 9-3. I have them losing to LSU. But I agree with the other. I agree with the other two losses that you have.
Yeah, I don't hate the LSU game. I think that's a toss up.
I think that's the difference between a regular season overhitting and an underhitting is that game.
Yeah, and LSU is actually one of my dark horses to win the SEC, so I don't hate that as a loss.
Yeah, I just think my thing with Bama is when you look at their quarterback play right now, it's a bunch of guys you have no idea about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You're looking at Alex Mack, who's potentially the backup, coming from the University of Washington with DeBoer. You have Ty Simpson, who is probably going to be the starter, but then you also have 5-star Keelan Russell, who is a legitimate prospect and could end up getting time at some point this year. So
Sure,
once they get that figured out, I think they're fine. And I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but they do have a pretty solid receiver room other than Ryan Williams. They get Jeremy Bernard back, and they bring in Isaiah Horton from Miami that I think is going to be big time for that quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have everything but quarterback figured out, and we just don't know what that's going to be. I think that's going to be enough to drive this team. I think their floor is probably 8-5, or 8-4, excuse me.
The LSU game could be the difference between them making the playoff or not.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'd say that game more than the South Carolina game. Those are two games that are the difference maker right there. And
but then again, this team did. I know they got different guys. I mean, they have some different tools, but this team did go on the road and lose to Vandy and Oklahoma last year, and in both games they got their dicks blown off. At least in the Oklahoma game, they did.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think bringing this coordinator back is going to be a huge difference, personally.
Correct. I don't disagree with you. I think that them losing Justin Haynes hurts, but having a guy like Jim Miller ready to go.
Yeah.
To take that
Jim Miller was a big part of that team last year, too. They'll be fine. And Deontay Lawson in that middle linebacker role, their inside linebacker role, is a beast.
Yeah.
Steve, anything on Bama?
No, I actually agree with what Kev's saying, but I actually have them losing to LSU. I like LSU this year, so I'm with Don on that loss there. But the offensive coordinator linking back up with his guy is big for Alabama, and a quarterback maybe that would fit in his system a little bit better. So, but then again, what Don was saying, we don't know what we're going to get out of it, but it's there. So the path is there for them.
All right. And if you want to see Don's breakdown of Alabama as well as all of his breakdowns, he's on the whole ACC already. We've been posting those articles in our newsletter and on Substack. You can click the link in or click the QR code in the top right by Steve's head. It'll bring you to our Substack page where you can see Don's full breakdown. And while you're there, make sure you guys sign up for our fantasy football charity event. We'll go over more of that later. Let's move on to the Hogs. Arkansas, a weaker, from what I'm looking at, a weaker out-of-conference schedule outside of Notre Dame, Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas State to start the year at home. On the road versus Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, and Texas, and home games against Notre Dame, Auburn, Mississippi State. Win total is sitting at plus money at 5.5 right now. They're not even at odds they want to put up to win the SEC at plus 13,000. Don, what are we looking at for the Razorbacks this year?
So Arkansas was like my big team last year. I think with Taylor Green at quarterback, I thought that they had a lot of transparency. Threw for 3,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But the reason that this offense thrived was because they had Jaquindon Jackson, who came in from Utah. With him gone, you're going to get more of a running back by committee with sophomore Braylon Russell getting the bigger of the load, and then senior Mike Washington Jr. behind him. They're going to they're transitioning into a new offensive scheme with Bobby Petrino. I like the passing game. I like the receivers. Couple good names here. Omega Blake and Raylan Sharp are the two big ones that you need to keep an eye on, with also Cam Shanks in the slot. I think their offensive line is probably their weak spot. They have 3 guys that are coming in as transfers that will be starting, both their offensive tackles and their center. So that is where I believe the gripe is offensively. Defensively, they're either going to go. You'll see them in a 4-2-5. You'll see them in a 3-2-6. Not afraid to use it. I think up front on the D line is where they're at their best. I think they have a ton of depth. Waiting to hear back on if Cameron Ball is eligible or not for them. But Quincy Rhodes Jr. is a hell of a player for them. They're getting Justice Boone from Florida to come in. A bunch of talent there. I think in the secondary they're strong. They might have a couple holes. They have a bunch of transfers that are going to come in and play and get some playing time. And then obviously in the linebacker core, they look decent. I have them going 6-6. I have them. I mean, I just think they get a tough draw. You know, having Notre Dame in a non-con. Notre Dame, by the way, people aren't talking about, have an absolute gauntlet of a schedule this year, and that it's gonna get to a point where they're gonna get tired at some point, and they're gonna lose a bad game, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, there's no way this team will make the playoff." But I have them losing to LSU. I have them losing to Texas, Notre Dame, at Ole Miss, against Auburn, and then Tennessee. I have them at 6-6, making a bowl game, beating Missouri in the last week. But I'm excited about what this offense will look like. Defensively, I think they'll be solid, even though they did lose a bunch of key pieces from last year's team.
Steve, Kev, Joe, any comments, rebuttals, questions?
This is a hot seat year for Sam Barbecue Pittman, especially with Bobby sitting right there, right behind him. I like Taylor Green. I think I'm expecting better quarterback play out of him this year. It does hurt that they lost their running back, but that's a lot of production lost out of him. But one thing we know with Bobby's creative with offense. And, yeah, Don, their defense is the strength of their team. I don't mind 6-6. I'm looking at their schedule now, and I think the win I probably disagree with you is maybe Auburn. I feel like that's more a closer of a toss-up game between the two. But at that point in the season, later on, I mean, both teams might be looking at both coaches on the hot seat at that point. Both need a win, so they might end up pulling that out, especially with the game being at home for them.
So what I have is, so in a 4-game stretch, they go Notre Dame, at Tennessee, A&M, and Auburn. I have them beating A&M. I think A&M and Auburn it's a flip flop, but they're going to go 1-1 in those games. They're not going to win or lose both.
Okay.
Did you say the Mississippi State game? Is that the game you were highlighting?
No, he was saying the Auburn game.
The Auburn game. Oh man, that'd be something. If it's a year 2 free, is it year 2 for him or year 3? Year 2, year 3 free. Year 3 Freeze on the hot seat. Freeze and Sam Pittman, loser leaves town match. That'd be something.
Yeah, I think that's what they're looking at. I mean, well, I'll get to Auburn because that's when I'm covering. But Sam Pittman was almost on his way out this season. And
I was gonna say right when you started, like he's been like he's been a hot seat. You know, he's basically barbecue at this point. Like that's a brisket that's been in the oven for like 12 hours. Like he's been cooked. Like I thought he was going to get fired. Definitely, they quit. Like Capital Q quit last year. They lost to Florida, I think, or they lost to Auburn like in November, like by 40. I was like, oh, he's done. Like they are shooting Sam Pittman out of a turkey. What
was the? Well, I kind of thought he was starting to hit the hot seat. You know, as obviously I don't follow them as much as follow college as deeply as you guys do, but that Oklahoma State game last year, when they let
Yeah.
Oklahoma State come all the way back and beat them in overtime. Like I thought that, and I looked at that one and I was like, your quarterback threw for 400 yards, your running back ran for 150, and
Yeah.
they were dominating them until the fourth quarter, and it just looked like they were like, okay, they're not gonna try because we're up by 20.
They completely mismanaged the fourth quarter and overtime of that game. I think it went double OT. It was a pretty crazy game.
Mm-hmm.
But they did bounce back like right after that, and they beat Tennessee like in week 3 or 4, and it was a game where Taylor Green was hurt in. So like maybe that at that time it kind of like re-sparked and reinvigorated the fan base, but they ended so poorly. I'm stunned that Pittman kept his job. And yeah, I don't know, man. Could be another one of those years for Arkansas.
I mean, they started off 3-1. They played A&M really tough at Jerry World. They beat Tennessee. LSU was a bad one. Losing to Ole Miss was a bad one. They kept it really close to Texas, and then just
they couldn't close out games last year, and I think that's why you bring Bobby Petrino in, because he's should be a better play caller on the offensive side, and you hope that's enough to kind of close some of these games out. I mean, I like the 6-6 call only because it's plus money, but I actually think they fall short of 6. I worry too much about their offense, but I don't hate taking the over 5.5 as a bet because it's plus money, but just where my thought process is, I think they end up going 5 and 7.
So, what I was gonna say, if Don, because I know it's a little early to be looking at trap games, but I'm looking at that Mississippi State game sandwiched between Auburn, LSU, and Texas. I mean, could that be a very possible late season trap game, fade in Arkansas in a game that the public might think they should win?
I mean, maybe. I mean, it all depends on like how they look. You know what I mean? Like, because I think after the first two weeks, once they go to Ole Miss, we'll see what this Arkansas team is really made of, right? So once they get there, then we'll see. But until then, I mean, we have to just kind of look and just. I think 6-6 is fine because I think between A&M and Auburn, they'll flip, win and lose one of those. They should win 3 out of their 4 non-cons, and you just got to win three games in conference, and I think they can. You're not going to be LSU. You're not going to be Texas.
Here's a question.
I think it's open.
Here's at least this is the last thing for me, and then we can move on from La Hogs. How good do we think Memphis is? Because they'll start 2-0, because that's cake. But if they come out after that and then lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, could Pittman already be gone by the Auburn game? Especially if Notre Dame just pounds them into the dirt, and then if Tennessee lights them on fire because they got to go to Knoxville. Like if they're 2-5 going into the Auburn game, could Pittman already be fired? You know, and then from there it's like we're on the show every week talking about how we can cash some easy Arkansas lines to fade them because of the team has quit again. You know, that's what I would be worried about, picking them to go 6-6.
I was gonna say they, because for some reason it was like one of the only games they would play here is like Arkansas SEC games because they were day games, but they said on the broadcast, they said Arkansas never plays good after week 4 because that's when hunting season starts. So so you know you get to that Tennessee game and then it's like, okay, well everyone's going deer hunting and hog hunting, like, you know, might as well send them packing early.
Like a third of the crowd is missing, and they're like, wait, what's going on here?
That's why they try to play these bad teams and beat them out the first 2 weeks to look good, to see if they can get people to show up in October.
It's all kind of season.
All right. Anything else on Arkansas before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right, on to the other Alabama team, the Auburn Tigers. Steve, looking at this team, Baylor to start the year. They got Georgia and Mizzou at home. they got Vandy on the road and they got Bama at home. Where are you seeing this Auburn team finish at? Line for them is currently 7.5 wins at -160.
I think with that line in particular, it's like spot on. You have new transfers coming in. You have good old Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold coming in. He did put up 12 touchdowns, 3 INTs this past season. He didn't play horrible. I just don't think it was a great fit with him there. He is good with his legs, so that brings another factor for them. But they also have 2 other quarterbacks I'm curious at. I know Jackson Arnold's probably number 1 on the depth chart, but they're bringing in a big recruited quarterback with Deuce Knight, another dual threat quarterback. I definitely can see Hugh Freeze making a change if Jackson Arnold's not getting it done, especially with him potentially being on a hot seat by middle of the season. One position that stands out, they did get a new wide receiver, the Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech. That's a big signing for them. He's good. Defensive wise, they did have a linebacker from Maryland come in, Caleb Wheatland. He's all right. I don't think it's a significant change, but it brings some stability there. And then they also have a safety or a cornerback coming in, or already on the team, Kalen Harris. Big play potential from this guy, man. He'll get some picks. There's gonna be some improvement on the defense. We've seen Hugh Freeze when he's like his teams are cranking. We saw him at Liberty. This team is either like boom or bust, right? So that like 7.5 is like right there. I'm on the fence of looking at the over, but 6-6 seems realistic for this team.
Are you saying Auburn is the alt line kings? Like if we're feeling the Auburn vibes, we're just alt lining like 9.5, and we're taking Auburn to make the playoffs at plus whatever. but if not, we're fading the bejesus out of them. Like Auburn to miss a bowl.
Look at their schedule. They already start off with a tough game against Baylor, and I really like Baylor this year. That's going to let me know where this team is at. If it's a close game, I'm not going to be down on Auburn necessarily because I'm so high on Baylor. But if they get blown out in that Baylor game, it's a grain of salt because it's on the road. But I feel they could pull off a win there. Then they go to Then they play Ball State at home, South Alabama at home. So it potentially could be 2-1 at that point, or 3-0. Then they play at Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold coming back to his old squad. Another coach that could be on the hot seat at later on in that season. It's a lot of hot seat coaches in the SEC this year. That's a toss-up game to me. But at Oklahoma, playing in Oklahoma, I edge it to the Sooners. I can't believe that. It's dirty saying that, but yeah, I see them at 6-6. I would take the under. I'm not betting it just because it's tough for me to kind of know which path to either boom or bust with this team.
Yeah, I mean their schedule is kind of starts rough at the beginning, and then I know they have those 2 kind of cakewalk easy games, but I'm with you. I think that Baylor game's a toss-up. We'll see how good both those teams are in week 1. They're going to beat Ball State and South Alabama, but then you go to Norman, to College Station, or at home against Georgia.
We get 2 weeks to prepare for Georgia. Don't forget.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to help, but But then the end of your schedule: Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy, Mercer, and then obviously you end with Bama. But can they recover if they're 2-4? I mean, the back end of their schedule is easy enough, in my opinion, that they could get to 7, maybe 8. But I think that Baylor game is going to be a big part. First game of the season is going to be a big part of whether or not they hit the over on that, in my opinion.
Is that a true road or a neutral?
It's a true road, is what I'm showing, but maybe I'm wrong.
For which game?
Baylor game.
Yeah.
I'm showing it as Waco on
Yeah,
my screen.
That's a Baylor. That's Baylor. Yeah, that'll be good. I'll tell you this real quick, man. I would love to be a beat writer for whichever team loses that game because you got a whole weekend of just free. Our coach can't win big games. Headlines to write. It's just going to be printing money.
I think so. I have them at 7-5 only because I like their offensive line. I think quarterback, no matter who they go with, if it's Arnold, if it's Deuce Knight, if it's Ashton Daniels, that's going to be a big thing. I think the big issue that they're going to have early on is they don't have a bell cow. They don't have Jarquez Hunter, who's in the NFL now. They're going to go running back by committee with Damari Alston, Jeremiah Cobb, and Darrell Robinson. If they can get one of those guys to be their true-on bell cow, I really think that this Auburn team has a chance. So I have them going 3-2 into the bye, and then I have them finishing 4-2 in their last 6, with losing to Georgia and Alabama. So I have them at 7-5 making a bowl game. But I also think the big reason why Auburn was so bad last year was because their quarterback play was horrendous. Peyton Thorne might have been the worst P4 starting quarterback in the country last year.
Like, they should have beaten Oklahoma. I wouldn't say should have beat Georgia, but that Georgia game was feisty for like 2 hours. But their offense was a corpse. I think the Bama game was kind of a blowout, but
their defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. That's all.
Like they lost some really stupid games last year.
Yeah, it's just I do think Hugh Freeze is a decent coach. It's just it's I don't know, like I mean 7-5 Don is not like bad. Like I said, I'm right in the middle. Like it could go either way. They could hit that 7-5, 8-4 mark, or like I said, I 6-6 is where I'm leaving it at. But
the problem with the SEC is there's too many teams at the top. Not really too many, but the teams at the top are so much better than the middle, and there's only like one Mississippi State team at the really, really bottom who's horrendously bad. Sorry, I'm allergic to something. I had to sneeze there. So all of those teams in the middle are just mediocrity personified, and they all beat the bejesus out of each other. So you have all of these win totals between like 7.5, 6.5, and like 8 or 8.5, and it's like, or 7.5, and it's like, well, maybe, but probably in that 6 to 6, 7 and 5 range. There's a lot of teams like that in the SEC because of how gapped it is and how insanely clogged the middle of the conference is.
Yeah, my last thought, and like that worries me a little bit, is if they do start 2-4, do you bench Arnold and you go with Ashton Daniels, the transfer?
No, if you're benching Arnold at that point, you got to see what you got with Deuce Knight.
Right, but again, I guess you're benching Jackson Arnold, and now you're bringing in Deuce Knight more than likely. Like, how does that play out for the rest of the season, even against teams that you should be beating? I guess
the scenario is. Oh, go ahead, Don.
Just think of it as how Florida did with DJ Lagway last year when Graham Mertz got hurt. That is how I would say.
Okay.
Speaking of DJ Lagway in Florida, that's our next team here on this list.
Transition king.
What a great way to do it. Looking at the Gators, win total set at 7.5 at plus 120. Looking at their schedule in conference, they have to play on the road at LSU, A&M, Kentucky, and Ole Miss, and are hosting Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi State, and Texas. I left the out-of-conference last because I wanted to go over some of these teams as they have Florida State to end the year, South Florida, and I don't know if you guys have looked at their guys. Kev knows where I'm going with this.
Week 1, baby.
The Colt fan favorite, On the show, Joe, you have missed a lot so far. The greatest college sports team in history, the Long
Chomp,
Island
chomp.
University Sharks. Chomp, chomp, baby. In week one,
Baby
that's
blue with the yellow.
They do
I
have
might
some
buy
solid
ESPN
units.
Plus. I might buy ESPN Plus just to watch that game.
Oh, I'm already
Hey, I
ready.
caught the end of basket. I was on here for some March Madness stuff with y'all, so I
side
caught
note,
some of the LIU Brooklyn bonanza,
So,
a little bit.
Side note, before we get into them, I just had to mention today, just to get in the mood for the show, I watched like what NCAA posted as their top 100 highlights of last year, and LIU made the list at 97 when they got picked off, and when the guy came down, the wide receiver just ripped behind him and ripped it out of his hand and ran into the end zone to win the game. Gotta love low D1 football. Steve,
Them boys in Brooklyn got something for Florida. They might put up 7 points. All right, them boys they got something. They put some fear in them. That first quarter, it's gonna be 7-7.
they're not
Yeah.
even posting a line for this game. That's
Of
how.
course not, because it's
Like,
gonna
yeah.
be like 46.
So,
Oh my god, bro! I cannot wait for 5. What would that be? Like 7-8 weeks from now, we're on here talking about the sinister sex pick that week. Is Steve fired off LIU first quarter? Cannot wait.
So looking at the team, Lagway will be is QB1. They brought in J. Michael Sturdivant. As of now on their depth chart, true freshman Dallas Wilson is listed as one of their top 3 receivers. Steve, where do you see this team going?
So, looking at this schedule, I am very high on DJ Lagway. I know he had 9 interceptions this year, and a bulk of them did come from that bowl game when he was just out there just slinging, just doing what the hell he wanted to do. But kid's talented, man. He's going to contribute to the running game. He's got targets. He has Jaden Bob back, their leading rusher, 673 yards, 7 touchdowns, and also Jacoby Jackson, who had 7 touchdowns as well. So that's going to be a strong point. Their O-line is going to be another strength of this team. And, I mean, outside of Miami, Texas A&M, Florida's defense last year actually looked decent outside of those games. Tyreek Sapp, one of the top pass rushers. So I see a lot of potential in this team. Looking at their schedule, let's get right into the SEC play, going against LSU at LSU. That's a tough game. I do see them losing that game. Then they play Texas at Texas. You saw how they played Texas last. That was if DJ Lagway was starting in that game. I don't know if Texas would have pulled away at the end, but at the same time, I mean, looking at Texas from this past year, we had issues in the red zone, and we were open for a team to beat us. And that's going to be a tough game for Texas. Naturally, I'm biased on that game, and I really would like to see my Longhorns win that game. But it's a possibility that Florida can upset Texas at home. Going to Texas A&M, mediocrity all day. I think they can upset Texas A&M at home. I like that one. Going into Mississippi State. What's that?
So I wouldn't even call that an upset.
I'm doing it for the Texas A&M listeners to make them feel better when, they're talking all this trash to us and then we beat their ass the day after Thanksgiving.
Are the Texas A&M listeners in the room with us?
Nobody on this show. Aggies. Nobody.
I'm going to have Lydia be an Aggie fan. I'm going to make her switch from Bama to Aggies.
Don't do that. She's already an Angels fan. Don't do that to her. Don't. She deserves better.
She's also a Dolphins fan.
There you go. She's already good. She's already got let down right there. Mississippi State, Joe's already established that team is garbage. Then they play Georgia at home.
Neutral.
Neutral site. biggest outdoor cocktail party. That's going to be an interesting game. That is going to be an interesting game because you have Georgia with this new starting quarterback. And I know he's not amazing because we watched them win national championships with Stetson Bennett. So I can't say if Georgia has a weak quarterback, they're not going to be good. They've already, Kirby's already showed us that they can win with that. But Billy Napier, another hot seat coach this year. So they're going to have to get some wins.
They could have. You could argue they should have beat Georgia if DJ Lagway didn't get hurt last year in the second half.
Absolutely.
But also,
Absolutely.
Georgia last year was very mid. Just throwing that out there for the world.
Correct.
Texas, I'm still mad at Georgia Tech and Texas for not putting them out of their misery. Now, granted, if Georgia would have missed the playoff, they probably would have put Bama in, and Bama didn't deserve a spot either. So I guess Georgia was the injured Georgia last year was the least of two evils.
And
Sorry, I had to get that off my chest.
But you can't say that they've won with less, because if they were as good as people thought, they should have won with Carson Beck. And Carson Beck stinks.
Beck was terrible last year.
I mean,
Stinks. Don't I mean me?
Carson Beck. I mean, Carson Beck was probably out of the quarterbacks they've had where they were successful. He was the best one out of the ones they were like successful with. So it was like this.
Stetson Bennett was a dude. You just don't fucking believe him because he's a white. It's fine.
Steve was watching
better.
Carson. Steve was watching Carson back to London.
London.
Steve was watching Carson back to London Humphrey passes last year and breaking his.
The one thing I'll give Carson Beck for last year is that their receivers were capital A ass, like BB, like more ass than what Steve's seeing in Nashville right now. That's how ass their wide receiver room is, or was at least. They brought in some dudes this year because then they brought in the cat from USC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Georgia. So they'll.
Zachariah Branch.
Oh, well, don't worry. We'll dive into them in a little bit. So,
But-
Steve, what
right.
you have Florida at?
I have them.
You were just kind of rattling off their schedule. Didn't really give us what you.
Oh,
thought they
my
were
bad.
doing.
My bad.
He's got him
My
at like 11-1, bro.
Apparently.
Gotham, what's their current win total, X? So
7.5 plus money.
7.5. You know what? They get the win against Tennessee. I'm in the state. I'm calling it. I'm walking up and down the street in Nashville, telling everybody Vandy's the best team in the state of Tennessee. We're all Diego Pavia fans here. So yeah, they get over the 7.5 mark. Potential upset against Texas, upset against Tennessee. They get over the line there, and they're beating the shit out of Florida State. Like that's not even. Come on.
Let me just say this, and then if anybody else can chime. Has anything else they want to chime in on? They can chime in on. Florida is going 8-4. They're splitting between Texas and Georgia. If they lose to Texas, they'll beat Georgia. If they beat Texas, they will lose to Georgia. They will lose at LSU. They'll lose a shit game like at Ole Miss or at Kentucky, and then they'll lose to Texas A&M. Those are their 4 losses. They're 8-4. They're going to a bowl game. Billy Napier keeps his job another year. That defense is too good. DJ Lagway is going to be a top 6 quarterback in the SEC this year. The receiver room's good. Offensive line is legit. I think that's the best reason why their offense will thrive, especially because they have 4 out of 5 starters returning.
Yeah, I think
Take the over.
forget it. F the Gators forever, but it's
See?
more fun if they're like good, right? Because if not, then it's just kind of there's no different in the SEC if they're kind of just average again.
F the Gators forever. This guy's a fan of premarital sex.
Yeah, we like it raw out here. You know what I'm
Nothing else
saying?
to do in Illinois.
We don't show up to the brothel just to give out. Never mind. We're out here to party. Damn it. Listen, I'm just saying. I mean, this is a team though that like, hey, at the end, if people, this is probably the team in the SEC outside of one of the teams that I have who their win total is just hilariously off. This is one of the teams in the SEC that people are going to either cash a lot of money on some crazy odds to like have a huge year, or they're going to light a lot of money on fire. You know, that's kind of where I'm at with them. They are our two sides of the spectrum for them where it's like, you know, DJ Lagway turns into a superstar and this team's like 12 or 10-2 or 11-1 and they're in the SEC title game. Or Billy Napier is all over his Billy Napier and they're 6-6 again.
If they're heading that direction, he's out. He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that this is definitely his take it or like this is his final shot. Considering the new AD, you know, they had a bit of momentum to end last season. It's the only reason I think they kept him. Especially because here's the thing too, they probably knew this is old news probably, but like, well, not probably, definitely. DJ Lagway would probably be the starting quarterback at maybe a place like Texas A&M right now if they would have fired Napier, if I had to guess. And that's why Napier has a job still. Because if Napier would have got the gate, then Lagway probably would have said, all right,
Yeah,
deuce,
he would have
deuce,
been
Bruce,
out. Yeah.
and he would have jetted. And A&M would have thrown that oil money at him or whatever the hell they got pumping into the 12th man. So
They get 10% of Alex Caruso's contract.
maybe that's what it is.
All right.
It's drugs, Joe.
Yeah.
They sell drugs.
There,
All right.
you are an
Dude,
insider.
Don't be throwing out their business like that, dude. God damn.
Now, since we're talking about drugs, let's go ahead and move on to the Georgia Bulldogs. Another great segue.
Whoa, they have
Oh,
a
drop.
drinking and
I
drinking.
would talk
Drinking and
about
driving
drugs.
you.
I'm talking
Alcohol
about
is a
drugs.
drug, so
Hey, you know what Georgia? Do you know what Georgia Bulldogs players do after big win? They might swerve in that corner. Whoa! Sorry, I had to get that out of my system.
I put my my road to the glory players on Georgia, and he's already arrested. I'm only in week 2.
You get a big win in week 1, and then all of a sudden the game super cuts to GTA, and you're
I
stumbling around out of the car.
I signed, and it went like, you know when you switch characters at GTA, it does the zoom out and
Yeah.
zoom in of Athens, and then it just put me at Spaghetti Junction in Atlanta, going 100. All right, so we got the Bulldogs here. Win total is set at 9.5 at minus 170.
Shock.
Looking at their schedule: Marshall, Austin P, UNC Charlotte, and Georgia Tech to end the year. On the road at Tennessee, on the road at Auburn, on the road at Mississippi State for conference play. So only, am I reading that right? Only 3. Well, I guess the neutral game, right? Is Florida.
Yeah.
Then we got
Total games total.
yeah, Alabama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas at home, or as the home team. We'll head back over to Don on this one. Don, what is the new look Bulldogs set up for this year? Are we going to see a title run, or are we going to see a missing the playoffs?
They're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna go 10-2. I think watching Gunnar Stockton start against that Notre Dame defense last year makes me a little worried going into SEC play. So they have a 4-star in Ryan Puglisi's redshirt freshman from last year's class that has some potential, and I think he'll be the starting quarterback at some point this year. In the receiving room, though, Noah Thomas coming over from Texas A&M, Zachariah Branch coming over from USC. They have 2 legit receivers to add to Colby Young, London Humphreys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I I think the offensive line is as deep as it's been in years past, which I think will be their issue. I think defensively they're fine. I think their weak spot is their linebacker core, which you got to have a good linebacker core to win in the SEC. Secondary, I think they're fine. I think they go 10-2. I think their 2 losses are to Florida, and I think they lose to the Longhorns. Those are my 2 losses for them. I got them at 10-2.
Who was the other loss you said they have? Oh, the Longhorns.
Texas,
Okay.
Texas, and Florida.
They go to DKR this year, right?
No.
Or no, they'll get them at home.
Oh, they have
Yeah.
home.
Yeah, you're
They're,
right. I'm dumb.
they only have 2 true road games. Knoxville and what's the other one now? Mississippi State, which Mississippi State's terrible.
Yeah,
Auburn
last year was the
on the road
first time
game?
that Georgia played a bunch of road games in conference and they lost them. Weird. Yeah.
Is Auburn not a true road game?
No, they were in
Oh,
the hedges
Auburn?
last year.
Yeah, no, they're is it? Oh no,
They go
Auburn
to
is.
Geor-
They got 3.
They go.
They got
Oh,
3
yeah, you're right. They
home
go to Georgia Tech. They go
Yeah.
to Auburn. They go to Tennessee
And then they go to Mississippi State.
and to Mississippi State. Which does that really count?
Well, no,
Does it?
Georgia Tech and Florida are
Didn't
both.
last year's games start kind of close against
The
Mississippi?
Georgia screwed around. Georgia, shout out to Doc Rivers, played with their meat for about 3 hours, and then they finally put the
Whoa.
hammer down.
We're not playing with meat out here.
I haven't heard that one before, Joe. That's new to
You
me.
never heard Doc Rivers say that?
Play with their meat.
Playing with our meat a little bit. Or how does he talk? We're playing with our meat a little bit out there for 3 quarters.
Sounded more like Phil Jackson.
A little bit, yeah.
And
Let me go.
High pitched Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah. Now we're only gonna play these 6 guys.
Anything else? Anything else on the Bulldogs before we move on to the next team? I think we're all kind of in the same boat on them, right?
Go Dogs.
Yeah, the only thing I would question is if Gunnar Stockton does get benched, I'm worried that this over ain't cashing. Because that means he cost them 1 too much. Unless he just sucked for 1 game and then Kirby was like, okay, let's pull the trigger, guys.
All right, Puglisi, you're in, kid. Let's go.
All right, so
Kirby don't play, man. Kirby, if you just looked at what you're not locked in, he's moving on quick.
The wide receivers being better should help, you would think.
Yeah.
But
Because I
man,
mean,
their
remember,
offensive coaching leaves a whole lot to be desired.
you got
And-
2 true freshmen at the bottom end of your bench. Like you're gonna get new players in next year. You can.
Don, remember that in the Notre Dame game, there were some big drops from wide receivers who were wide open. That
It
would
was
have
like that in a lot of games last year for them.
So I mean, if there's a change there, they could that game like that could go their way. So
You know who
Yeah.
doesn't drop balls
That's
like
what-
that? You know who doesn't drop balls like that? Zachariah Branch.
Branch being there could be a cheat code for them. The thing I'm curious about, though, is they've lost a lot on the line of scrimmage, multiple years running. I know that they are just an absolute freak at the recruiting game, and they just reload. But they lost 2 top 15 draft picks in the draft at edge rusher. They've lost all these guys on the defensive interior. They lost a couple key offensive linemen. So we'll see. We'll see if how a lot of new faces on the lines of scrimmage, which is where they've really owned these, the back-to-back titles. And then last year when they were good is they outduted you at the line of scrimmage. And it's why Notre Dame beat them last year is because Notre Dame was better than them on the line of scrimmage in the playoff game. We'll see how that's the one thing I'm curious about when they actually get into SEC play.
So going into Kentucky now, looking at their roster, according to what the depth chart is as of yesterday, there's 6 transfers on the first team, including Kendrick Law, Zach Calzada, and Dante Dowdle. Law coming from Alabama, Dowdle on his 3rd team in 3 years. Their win total is set at 4.5 at -130. Looking at their teams, Ole Miss, Toledo, Eastern Michigan, home to start the year, back-to-back road games against South Carolina and Georgia, home against Texas and Tennessee, Auburn, Vandy, Louisville on the road, and Florida and Tennessee Tech at home. Don, what are we looking at a team that's going to rival Mississippi State here for the lowest win total in the SEC?
No, because I think they're a little bit better than Mississippi State in total. I have them at 5-7. I'm not sold 100% on Calzada, but they also Brock Vandegrift looked horrible last year because of how bad their offensive line was. And I think the big thing that they did was in the transfer portal, they went to offensive line. If 4 new starters, all transfers coming in from the offensive line, which I think is huge for them. Kendrick Law coming from Bama helps them a ton, I think. He wasn't utilized in Bama a ton. I don't know if we'll see a lot of this guy this year, but if he can make an impact in the following year, Ashton Kozart coming over from SMU has some serious potential, in my opinion. I like the Dante Dowdle addition coming from Nebraska. I think him and Seth McGowan will be a great 1-2 punch with potentially a little bit of Jason Patterson in there, the redshirt freshman. It's Bob Stoops. Their defense is always legit. I think their defense is going to keep them in a bunch of games. I have them winning 5. I have them winning Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee Tech. I have them finishing at 5-7. And plus, I also think that their strength of schedule in the first half is probably one of the hardest in the conference.
Any comments, questions, concerns on that one, guys?
They're just boring. I don't know what it is. They're just
Mark
boring.
Stoops going to get fired. They're going to finally move on from this cat.
No, bro, because he's brought them so much winning football.
Yeah, that's the thing with these teams that's the type of question right there that is, it's the disease of more in college football when certain programs want to do that, but they don't realize, like 6-6 making bowl games is good. That's the problem with some of these programs. It's why they fire coaches. I know Stoops tried to get out of there a few years ago to get the A&M job, but I mean, they fire Stoops, they're not really going to get much better. They probably do much worse. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, A&M got lucky getting a guy like Mike Elko. So.
Yeah, they lucked into that one, having Stoops and then be like, oh, well, Elko, we can get him. Not bad.
Well, I'll tell you right now, there's one job that he would for sure take, but there's a legendary coach that's still there. So if that legendary coach were to go, I think he would be the one to fill in for that guy.
What job is that?
That would be the Betting Cheese alum, the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Ooh, yeah, I think, that is true because I remembered hearing that.
He played there.
Yeah.
Kirk's on it. Kirk's got to be on his last leg. There's no way he's got that much longer left. So Stoops is waiting for that job to open up, and then he goes there.
See if we can get Cal on the show. Hang on. Parlay. No, it didn't work. Didn't work this time.
Don, who were your 5 wins?
My 5 wins were Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Tennessee Tech at Vandy.
Okay.
Because that's just again that Tennessee team loses.
Yeah, I was gonna say it always seems like teams like Kentucky always sneak one against a team that's competing for the top, and it always somehow tends to be Tennessee. Before we move on to our next team, I believe Joe has a quick 2-minute rant to go on.
I wouldn't call it
Joe,
a rant.
I'll give you the floor. It's a rant for a cause.
It is for a cause. Let me find it here. So, listen, we're here arguing Alabama and Georgia or the LSUs and who's doing the gritties and whatnot. But we want to make sure that you guys that are watching do not sleep on this. The for frequency's sake, Toys for frequency sake QC Toys for Tots Fantasy League. I believe we got the QR code up there in the right hand corner. So click on that. It is back once again, and just like the SEC, we play for more than just bragging rights. It just means more. You know, I don't think we'll poison trees like the SEC does, but it means more, man. It means more. So join the Toys for Tots Fantasy League. This league, the coolest thing about this is this league helps put toys under trees for kids who need it the most. All the money that's raised goes towards a huge shopping day we do at the end of the year. You can draft against local celebs here in the Quad Cities, athletes, even a few FCC diehards who think they know it all. Get in, talk your talk, and give back while you're at it. Search FFSQC Toys for Tots Bowl and join the squad. Or as we got up there in the corner, we're close to already hitting our goal, our numbers that we hit from last season. We've got some pretty big. We've got divisions that are broken down into all of our podcasts that we have here on the network. So join in and donate to a good cause. Have some fun. So it's really, really cool, and we would really appreciate those that join and have some fun at the same time. So that is the for frequency sake Toys for Tots Fantasy League.
And I think also we added a new league this year for anyone who is a trading card collector. There's a an MVP card collecting league. Each week, the person with the top score gets picked for a random card break that gets sent their way. I don't know the full details on it. I know I did see a little bit of it on there. But if you're a big card collecting guy like I am, you'll have leagues like that you can join in as well. Once again, click that link in the top right and come join in. Last year we raised almost 5K?
I don't remember the final number, but I remember the one I went to a couple years ago. We almost did 3,000, and I know last year we did more. So, and we went. We go middle December. We go shopping, and we take all the toys we buy to the local Toys for Tots area. It's one of the coolest. That day I remember a few years ago is one of the coolest things I've done. So, it really is. It is really cool. It's one of my favorite things that I do covering sports in general, whether it's this or my other stuff. And on this network, it's by far right up there on the top tier things that we do. So really, the fact that we're almost at what we had last year and, hopefully we're going to blow right through that is really, really cool. And it's July 8th, 9th, whatever it is.
So make sure you guys join in. Now back to the college football. Next we got is the LSU Tigers. Win total is set at 8.5 at -140. Odds for them to win the SEC is at +700. Looking at their schedule, you got Clemson on the road. You have Florida at home. Your two non-con pay-to-win games, LA Tech, Southeast Louisiana. On the road in conference against Ole Miss, Vandy, Alabama. At home versus South Carolina, Texas A&M, Arkansas, and then ending the season with Western Kentucky and Oklahoma. Joe, we'll go to you on this one here. How about them Tigers?
How about them Tigers? This is the most. The team. One of the other teams I have is probably the most fascinating team in this conference. LSU. A lot of people are gonna, fall in love with what they've got. I know, Don. I think you're pretty heavy on them winning the SEC, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Correct the mundo.
And what was the number? Like 8.5?
8.5. Yep.
8.5. Here's the thing. The thing that worries me about LSU is if Grant Nussmeier, is he good enough to be a force multiplier where no matter what else they've got around him, they just absolutely take off and have he's good. I think he is really good. But I just don't know if he is next level to where, because I think we would have saw it more last year. I think that this team would have had more moments last season, and they just didn't. I think this team is still loaded on offense. They killed it in the transfer portal. Their defense, obviously, last year was very bad, and it has been bad for a bit. The Harold Perkins stuff. Listen, I thought last year, actually, when he went down, just saying, was a little bit of addition by subtraction. I don't really know if he fits what they try to do, but we'll see if he actually can kind of figure it out after having a pretty rough last 2 years. Like, he obviously got hurt last year, but his sophomore year was pretty brutal. Last year before the injury wasn't really much better. If their defense can kind of put some stuff together, they got Patrick Payton from Florida State. He'll be an edge rusher for them. He's a really, really good player. You know, those are some things that they have to just kind of tighten up in order to, in order to take some strides. This team probably should have playoff or bust mentality, considering what they've done in the portal, what they've done in recruiting, where they've kind of put themselves at the last few years. But, is Nussmeier good enough to carry this team over the edge, which at times I think they have a lot of good players, but I think in order for them to actually reach the goals that they want to get to, he has to, he doesn't have to be Burrow or Jaden Daniels, but you got to flirt in that range, man, with what they're trying to do. That week 1 game against Clemson, it's not everything, but man, I'll tell you this, they would be much better to win it than to lose it. And I know they're going to be underdogs at least. I mean, probably a field goal. They're already laying a field goal right now on the look way ahead line, but just before you even get through October, you got Florida at home, and who knows, Florida's going to be insanely hot and cold. At least you get that game at home, but still, that won't be easy. They got to go to Ole Miss. They get South Carolina at home, and they get Texas A&M at home, and that's just before they even get to November, or they get through to that's before you even get to November. So, man, this team could absolutely do all the things that some people on here will probably pick them to do. At 8.5, I would probably say I would be slight over. I think as of right now, man, I think the Clemson game is a real big toss-up, because I understand the Clemson hype, and we talked about it last week. I think Clemson should roll out of bed and go 11-1 this year, right? But if they lose week 1, who knows? And maybe they're not as good as we think they're going to be. But if they lose to Clemson on the road, let's just say they do, are they gonna from there go? What would they have to go to get over? They'd have to go 9-2 the rest of the way. Won't be easy, But I would be slight lean to the over. I think you probably are losing the South Carolina game. You're probably losing. I would think you're losing one of the LSU or the Alabama and Ole Miss games on the road. You're probably not winning both of them, and from there, that's 3 losses. So it's really tight. I think slight lean to the over, but also 8-4. It's dicey, man. It's really dicey. But I would. Danny, can you find me a LSU to miss the playoff pick? I'm not trying to fade Don here or anything, because I know he really likes LSU, but it's just, I don't know, man. I guess I just don't see it. I understand what they've added, but can they go leaps and bounds above their expectancy is what my take is. Don, do you want to fry me for being on the other side of this take?
Not that I want to fry you. I mean, listen, you got to have some sort of skepticism for any Brian Kelly coached football team, and I get that 100%. So this is more of me believing in how good their defense really is, because I'll tell you this, I think when you look at the hard games on their schedule, Clemson, Florida, South Carolina, Bama, I think they win all 4 of those games. I think they lose 2 stupid ones. I think they lose at Ole Miss right before the bye, and I think they lose at Oklahoma at the end of the year. But I think they do enough by beating the Bamas, the Floridas, the teams that are higher up, and making it to the SEC title game to take on Steve's Texas Longhorns. And then I think that they match up really well against Texas, especially on the defensive side of things, where I think that they could make Arch Manning's life a living hell. And that is just if LSU gets to the title game, I think they're winning. So
I definitely can see that.
I'm gonna put it with the plus money. But you saying a floor of 8-4, I don't disagree with you there. You know what I mean?
So
Yeah,
just to
Go
bring
ahead.
up their future odds to win the SEC championship game plus 800, to make the college football playoff plus 125, to miss it is minus 160.
So see,
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like if Nuss is, and I wouldn't say, and I do agree with what you're saying. I think the talent that they brought in defensively is gonna upgrade them. But if Nussmeier, and I think he's good. Like I said, it's not me saying he's average by any means, but if he doesn't, I think for them to make and I'm sure you guys would agree with me. I think if LSU wants to be an SEC title contender, Nussmeier has to win, like be a Heisman front runner. Does he have that in him?
I just think if he can cut down his interceptions, I think last year he had 12. If you cut that in half, because there were a couple last year that were really bad, but now that it's senior year, I think he's going to be fine.
Well, there were a couple games last year where, like the Texas A&M one stands out for me, where you could tell he was trying to get them back in that game, and he forced some throws. So, like, I think he had 3 or 4 picks in that game. So, like, if he doesn't force those throws, all of a sudden he has 1, and now he's down to 9 picks instead of 12. And I think that's going to be the difference this year. I actually really believe in Garrett Nussmeier and LSU. I think he's the best quarterback coming into college football this year, just from a standpoint of what he accomplished last year. Not to say that he'll end the year as the best quarterback, but I think coming in, he's got the most talent. He proved a lot of it last year. To Don's point, if he cuts down on those interceptions, I think he's right there in the Heisman running. And I have them going 10-2 as well. And I think they also are going to be competing for the SEC championship, just like Don does. My concern is their coaching, and I'm going to reference that Texas A&M game again, because when Marcel Reed came in, there was no change in mentality or scheme to get to the guys on the field. It's like they needed another halftime to make adjustments, and obviously they don't, and they couldn't do that. And Marcel Reed threw 4 passes,
and let them on
all
fire.
of them were for like 50 plus yards, and then he also ran for a ton. So like there was just no adjustment at all. And yes, some of that is I'm not saying none of that blame goes to the players, because yes, the players need to adjust as well, but the coaches got to be in the ears while Nussmeier is on the field. Say, hey guys, all right, this is what we're going to do now that Reed's in the game. And I just don't think anything that took place. So I'm a little worried about the coaching, and that's why also, Joe, I don't disagree. If the coaching is just as bad, I think they can easily go 8-4. But I do like them to go 10-2.
If it'll be a situation too where, like, if they win that Clemson game, you want to try to jump on as many plus numbers as you can, to where, because I think if they win that Clemson game, then they're probably going to go 10-2. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that would show, if they can go into Death Valley. I mean, they're Death Valley too, but you get what I'm saying. If they go into Clemson and win. Not that I think I think Clemson's good, but I don't think they're this world beater team. I would have plenty of teams over Clemson actually, in my mind, like win the title, I'd probably say. But if they can go there and win, then it'd be like right after the game, you're trying to spam as many like plus odds to make the SEC title game, plus, or try to get as many good values on them to like have a great season. Because I think that game, if they win it, they're not like cooked if they lose by any means, but if they win it, then it's like, all right, here we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't Brian Kelly on a game 1 losing streak? So this is the
Who did they lose to last year? I know my Knowles carved them up 2 years in a row. Oh yeah, they did lose to USC. Jesus Christmas.
The only reason I remember is because I had USC money line, and I was sweating it out while I was at a Gabriel Iglesias comedy show down in Foxwoods. That's how I remember it.
I remember that game was going on while I was doing my like preseason like playoff prediction show with my man Brinks, and I remember seeing the end of it where it was like USC scored like 2 scores in the last 90 seconds or whatever to win. I was like, oh my god. So
All right. That's it for LSU. Let's move on to the team that's had the most bets to win the SEC this year, Mississippi State. Win total is set at over 3.5. With the favored going into it's favored to go into over. Looking at their schedule, out of conference is Southern Miss, Arizona State, Alcorn, and Northern Illinois. Before Tennessee at home, A&M in Florida on the road, Texas at home, Arkansas on the road, Georgia at home, Mizzou on the road, and Ole Miss to round out the season. Steve, are we believing in the Bulldogs, or are we going?
Hold on, Don's got his hand.
Don,
I want to know what Steve's face was. I looked up and I saw Steve make a face.
What face? I was making a face because it was Mississippi State.
Okay.
Stank face. No, we don't believe in the Mississippi State. Well, hey, listen. Jeff Levy is in year 2 of a rebuild, right? And for bad reasons. I mean, they were setting up. They had the old pirate there. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. But okay, let's start with positives. Right, we've been bashing on them. All right, let's start with positives. They bring in Fluff Bothwell, right, running back in South Alabama, 13 touchdowns, average 7.5 yards per carry. All right, that's great. Then they bring in Tony Mitchell from Alabama. It's going to help their secondary. They didn't have an interception last year. They should improve. They should have at least one interception. Right? We're giving them positives here. And then Blake Shapen is back after getting hurt at 4 games into the season. He had 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. So going out, he wasn't necessarily playing bad. And then, they threw their freshman in there. He tried his best. He wasn't afraid. He played fearless. But Shaven should be back his starting position. But looking at their schedule, they're going to go 0-8 in conference. They're going to – so with that, I mean, they're not going to hit their win total. So the under is, in my opinion, that's what's there. At Southern Miss –
hold on. Their win total is what, 3.5?
Yeah.
You don't think they're going to win 4 games?
No. They're going to lose. They're going to lose to Arizona State.
Who are they beating in conference?
Oh boy, do I have a hot take for you.
What game are they? What game in league play are they single-digit dogs against? Arkansas, maybe?
It's a hot take.
Oh,
that's why
you
it's a hot take. John, throw out logic when it's a hot take.
Ready? The Egg Bowl.
Let's go.
They're going to beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl this year. July 9th, 2025. Mississippi State is going to beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl.
They're playing at home.
Just saying. Rivalry game. They'll get 2 weeks to prepare because they have a bye after Missouri. Listen, their second half schedule is fucking bananas. It's bananas. It's definitely the hardest in the conference. So I like Shapen. I think the only reason that they wouldn't get to this total is if they throw a blunder against NIU like Notre Dame did last year. Other than that, they're going to get to 4 because they're going to beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. They'll start 3-1. They'll lose from weeks 5 to week 12, and then they'll be celebrated week 14. And Jeff Levy will have a 5-year contract extension waiting for him because he beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl.
That would be a generational cash.
Ole Miss currently favored at minus 15.5 right now for that game.
Just wait till Ole Miss starts. Listen, I'll tell you why I feel my way about Ole Miss when we get to Ole Miss.
I don't necessarily think Southern Miss is a far stretch to them to lose to either. It's basically the Marshall team from last year. So
all right.
Southern Miss plus 13. Southern Miss money line plus 400. Let's go. 380. Let's go.
Southern Miss wire to wire plus 10,000.
It's possible. I like that Egg Bowl call. because we know how Lane Kiffin drops games they should absolutely dominate in. So it plays right into that narrative. So it's not as crazy as Joe face showed us when he said they're going to lose to Ole Miss, but
Hey, I'm here for chaos.
yeah, no, hey, so am I. But that could be the game that wouldn't that be funny? That's the game that knocks Ole Miss out of like college football playoff contention.
That'd be so funny.
And
Buddy,
It's
Yeah,
the
I
third
would
loss.
I would
Hey,
wet
hey.
myself.
hey, do yourself a favor. Take a fucking huge step back when you talk about Ole Miss and college football playoff. Take a huge step back.
well, I'm just saying it would
Nope,
be great.
nope. Just do yourself a favor. Take a huge step back. All right, let's move on.
Okay. Next team we got is Mizzou. I was so shocked at some of these that I forgot to actually look up what their thing was.
It's more like PU, am I right?
Missouri's
shit
win
stank,
total
don't it?
is set at 7.5 at plus money, plus 130. Looking at their team this year, transfer quarterback is set up to be QB1. Ahmad Hardy is set up to be RB1. Looking at their schedule, Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana at home to start the year. They have, if I'm reading this right, they play 6 consecutive home games to start the year.
Yep.
Missouri's gonna do Missouri things, man.
Yeah, South Carolina, UMass, Alabama, all at home before heading on the road in 4 of their last 6. Auburn, Vandy, Oklahoma, Arkansas on the road, and Texas A&M and Mississippi State at home in between them. Who's got
Who has the luxury
Joe?
of talking about this dog shit team?
Joe, how do we feel about Mizzou?
Look, man, they've reloaded their offense. That's for sure. At the skill positions, their offensive line is sketchy. I will say that. The question is going to be who wins the quarterback battle. Really, I don't know if there's any rumors on who the edge is. They've got the Penn State transfer who was their backup last year. He's all right. And I'm assuming
that's going to be their guy.
Yeah, Pribula is probably going to be the guy. I really like what they did in the offseason at the skill positions to bring in the guys that they did. Drink knows how to make it happen, man. Like, as weird as that team last year was, 2 years ago, obviously, they were awesome. And last year, somehow, they still won 10 games. Like, I don't know how they did it. None of us here know how they did it, but they still did. Like, damn right, Skippy.
His name is Brady Cook. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
Well, Cook was
Fucking
big
Luther
last
Burden,
year,
buddy.
the second half of the season.
Luther Burden, buddy.
And yeah, that's the thing. And Burton last year was moderately bad, but hey, he's going to be great on the Bears. No, I'm feeling it.
I was gonna say, Joe
what is it?
just talked shit
7.5?
about a Bears player.
No, I just thought last
I
year he
know.
was worse. 2 years ago, at Mizzou, he was incredible. Last year, he had a bit of a rough season.
Their total's at 7.5. Conference win total is at 3.5.
Their toughest games are at home. Like, their toughest games of the year. South Carolina and Alabama are both at home, which sucks because for a team like Missouri who's going to be fluctuant, you would want those games to be on the road so you could get your toss-up games like an Auburn or an Oklahoma at home. You know, you would love to have those games at home. 7-5, man. I mean, here's the thing. I think they'll mop up in the non-con. Kansas this year, I don't think much of them. I think they'll be okay, but I think Missouri at home definitely should win that game. They'll beat UMass, obviously, and then
Whoa.
what are we trying? Are we Minutemen over here?
I'm from Massachusetts.
Clearly, I'm just saying.
Them losing their head coach because of their athletic director, I think it's still a fun story. But that's besides the point.
Sorry, we had to get our minute on the Minutemen.
Correct.
Zing.
Joe, you're gonna go to 30-second timeout for that one.
Well, you didn't like that? Come on now.
Poor guy.
Hey,
Listen,
I just want to point out Steve did down there. We talked about that earlier. Steve was looking down for a minute.
I just
He
want.
was. He was like, "Hey, you good down there? You need a break."
It's the only question. Why are you laying back like that? I think, Joe, my only question for you is, do you think they get more than 7 wins?
That's the thing I was gonna say, man. In drink we trust, bro. 8-4. Let's get it.
Um,
Come on
um,
now.
Hold on. So the first
And Drake-
stretch, you have them beating South Carolina.
No, I don't think they'll beat South Carolina.
So Joe has them going 4-1 the first 5 weeks.
Absolutely.
Is what I have.
And then you got to go 4-3 the rest of the year, which
I don't
is
think they do
very
that.
doable.
I don't think they do that. I
Hey,
think they
listen.
lose the
Home
They
against
lose to
Alabama,
they
road
lose to
against
Auburn, they
Yep.
lose at OU, and they lose at Arkansas.
I don't think they go 0-3 in those games. It's a trust thing. Hey, I'm
As-
going to trust
Can
Drake.
So I've been the Missouri Tiger whisperer. I called their breakout year 2 years ago. I have documented. Me and my friend looked at their schedule and goes, they can easily win this many games, and they did. Last year we thought that they would be decent because those 2 guys came back. They don't have those guys anymore. Prbilla is awful. Ahmad Hardy is going to save them. If you don't know about Ahmad Hardy, pay attention because he's going to be a top 10 running back in the country this year. Coming in from UL Monroe, had 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. He's a stud. Other than that, this offense does not impress me at all. And I just Drink's defense is they'll lull you to sleep like they've been doing, but not having a guy like Brady Cook they're gonna struggle. I'm telling you, they'll start 4-1, they'll end the year 3-4, and they'll go in 7-5. They're not hitting that over. Don't even waste your time.
There you go. He is the whisperer.
Shall we move on to the next team we got here?
Yeah, Steve's favorite team in the conference.
Absolutely. It's just,
Boomer.
Don, when we were making this list, we should have put those Steve's two favorite teams together.
I stopped myself because I was being a good boy.
I
I
knew.
was being a good boy.
Listen,
I
I was kind of surprised you didn't give Steve Texas A&M, Oklahoma.
Well, let's put it this way. When I was putting the groups together, I was waiting for Steve to say, "Nah, I don't need to talk about my team." So that's why I kind of threw it in like that.
I was gonna
All
say
right,
that.
so-
I was typing that text up. I was like, I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm gonna roll with it.
All right, so let's talk about the Oklahoma Sooners. Over under is set at 6.5 at -170. Notable transfers as of now on the depth chart. John Mateer.
Time out. Check the chat.
Uh-oh.
I'm just saying. We got Kyle and Mike same night. It's a great night.
Listen, it's great, and they're still down by like 3 runs.
Don't
So
worry about that.
Hold on. We're talking about non-All-Star Mike Trout.
should ask her feelings on Mookie not making it. Somehow
Okay.
Mookie got snubbed from the all snub list.
Back to the Sooners.
All right, so we got,
Whoa! This guy saying back to the Sooners. Hold on, everybody.
I'm gonna clip it. I'm clipping it.
Is he valid?
You know what I mean? Like Don came out of nowhere with the super kick to my chin, man. I just had to, had to roll out the ring and run up the ramp right now, man. That's it.
Bro, he tried to come down, and I'm John Cena, and he's Charles Robinson, and I fucking knocked him right over.
Yeet.
I yeeted his ass the other way.
All right, so looking at their depth chart right now, wide receivers, their XZ and Y are Giovanni Gibson from transfer coming in from Pine Bluff, Jaden Gibson, and Deion Burks. John Mateer is set to be QB1, and Jaden Ott coming in from Cal is set as well. You don't think he'll start?
Who?
Jaden or Mateer?
Oh no, I was saying because I love those additions for this Boomer Sooner squad.
All right, looking at their schedule, Illinois State, they got, and then hosting Michigan, at Temple, home against Auburn, home against Kent State, home against Texas, on the road versus South Carolina, home against Ole Miss, and finishing the season with road games against Tennessee and Bama, home games against Mizzou and LSU. Who gets this one? Joseph.
What's the
What?
number?
Neutral site.
6.5.
Dude,
Oh,
I mean,
the
if not.
Cotton Bowl.
What are you talking about here?
If they don't get to
Venables
7
needs to be
wins,
gone.
Brett
Venables
Venables is going to be executed by the trampling stampede, and the Boomer Sooner cart's going to send him to the depths. I like John Mateer. He's fun. Jade Knott, good player. Really good player. You would expect the wide receiver room to be better, not just by addition, but also the fact that all of them last year were hurt. Literally, all of them. It was basically the 5 of us playing receiver for Oklahoma.
Hey, speak for yourself. I'd be riding for one out of this one.
I'm just saying, like, the bar's low, my friend. I would hope that here's the thing. If
I got
there's
fucking hands, buddy. You don't see.
here's the thing. Here's
Here's
the thing. Out of the 5 of us, one of us has to be the most athletic of us. Doesn't mean that's a big win in life. It just means that it factually has to be true.
Hey, for me, it is a big win in life. When I can
There you
go up there and they can be like, "Oh, Golden Ticket Show, who's the most athletic?" I know who runs the fastest 40. Don't worry about it.
Listen, man, I'm just saying. I'm batting out of shape. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, listen. Here's the thing.
I get it.
I might
Listen.
run the fastest one, but I'm pulling a hammy doing it.
There we go.
You could be
Here's
like
the thing,
what was it,
man.
Lucky Yates last year, and he tore his meniscus doing the
Oh
40.
my god. So Oklahoma had a lot. Like, their defense last year was pretty damn good. Problem with this team is they won some games that they probably should have lost, and they lost some games that I don't know if you would say they should have won, but they were competitive in, and lost some dumb ones. You just go through their schedule, all right? Because I want to come on here and say this team's going to suck, and this team's going to go 6-6 again, or they're going to go 5-7. But I will admit the fact that, again, their wide receiver room, if they just have warm bodies, that would be nice. And they upgraded at quarterback, and they upgraded at running back. Ott's probably one of the best running backs in the SEC. Like, without question. They're going to beat Illinois State. They're going to beat Temple. They're going to beat Kent State. That's 3 wins, obviously. They get toss-up games like Missouri at home. Ole Miss could be a toss-up game. They get that game at home. That's nice. The Michigan they get Auburn at home. I would give them that as a no-doubter win.
That's a win.
The Michigan game, I don't know.
The Michigan game is what separates them from 7-5 and 8-4. Because it's gonna be Bryce Underwood's first true road game.
Yeah, and his second start, he's got to go to Norman. That place is going to be lit. And it's going to be like
this Oklahoma team last year was the complete opposite of Oklahoma teams we've seen in the past. In the past, their offenses have been really good, and their defense has been what let them down. Last year, their defense was really good, and their offense let them down. If Oklahoma can get their offense to be really good, which I think they are with Mateer quarterback, Jaden Knott and Javante Barnes as their 1-2 punch at running back, and a receiving room who, like Joe said, are alive and not barely breathing anymore. Their defense is legit. I think they're a top 10 defense in the country. They should be able to win at least 7 games. I think there's a chance they go up to 9, but they're going to be competitive.
And a lot of these offenses in the SEC they're going to run into are pretty anemic. Like, is Auburn's offense going to be great? Is Ole Miss's? Who knows what Ole Miss's offense is going to be this year?
Trust me, buddy. I can talk to you about it in a second when we transition.
Alabama, like, who knows? Like, the Alabama game last year was obviously aided by the fact that Jalen Milroe just started throwing the ball to the wrong color jersey in the entire second half, which, hey, everyone told me that guy was going to be a top 60 pick in the draft. That was fun. And the Missouri game, you get that at home. That's a big thing. So because of that, like, I will go 6.5. The number's just too low for me to go under. And it's also because there's going to be a level, they improve too much, and there's got to be a level of desperation there for them. But it also, too, though, if you told me that this team fell on their ass and missed a bowl game, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be. Like, if you told me against Michigan they lost by 3 scores, and then Texas routed them again, they go to South Carolina and get ripped in half, and then in the back half of the season they're just limping into their final 4 games at like 3-6, and they're already doomed. Like, I could see that happening. It wouldn't shock me at all.
I don't know. I don't. And don't,
Steve,
and don't,
Steve,
and don't-
Steve. Just don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it, Steve. It's fine. We're not gonna make you talk about fucking the team you can't despise. It's fine. Move on.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying I'm on the other side because I even said in our on the College Juice show, man. I actually picked Oklahoma's win total, and I took the over.
Someone fucking check that man's pulse.
I mean, they have 4 losses for sure. It's just a question. They also have 4 toss-ups, in my opinion, and what they do in those 4 toss-ups is going to be what determines their season.
Steve is getting a taste of that hot white sun down in Nashville, Tennessee right now.
It's too humid.
I'm in Commodore country, boys.
It's a little thick in his room, if you know what I'm saying.
Someone say he's in the thick of it.
Into that thing? Yeah, there we go. Am I up again here? Who's next? Oh, no, never mind.
No,
Don's
next.
up. Don
Next
is
we
chomping
got-
at the bit to talk about this team.
Don's ready to talk about Ole Miss, baby.
No, I think that's Kev's team, but yeah, I'm sure Don will have his opinion. We got Ole Miss looking at their depth chart, which was updated as of June 27th. 5 of their 6 top receivers are all transfers. In their first and second string, outside of quarterback, they have 20 transfers in their first and second unit this year. Ole Miss's win total is at 8.5. Looking at their schedule, Georgia non-con is Georgia State, Washington State, Citadel, and am I missing one here? I don't see Tulane.
Say Washington State.
Washington State, yep. Conference games on the road are Kentucky, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Mississippi State. Home games are Arkansas, LSU, South Carolina, and Florida. Kev, how do we feel in the Rebels?
Not great, honestly. I'm not a big Lane Kiffin fan. I think they end up losing a couple of games that they should win just because that tends to be what Lane Kiffin does. And then can they hold themselves up against some of the better teams in the SEC, which this year I just don't see them doing personally. I have the under 8.5. I think they probably go 7-5. 8-4 maybe at best. I think they lose to where the fuck I do with the schedule? I think they lose to LSU, they lose to Georgia, they lose to South Carolina, they lose to Florida. I think those are definitely 4 losses for sure. And then, like I said, I think they end up losing a game they shouldn't have any business losing. Like maybe that second game of the year against Kentucky, at Kentucky.
Fucking talk about the Egg Bowl, buddy.
Yeah, potentially Mississippi State. I'm not as high in that game as you are, but I couldn't put it past Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss to blow that game. Missouri's another one because it's at Missouri potentially. Oklahoma, not Missouri. Oklahoma. Yeah, so for me, I have the under. And I don't know if I saw enough out of Austin Simmons where I feel confident enough that he can kind of overcome some of those bad coaching decisions.
All right, let me take the floor.
You want a solo cam?
No, I don't. I've been so wrong about the Ole Miss Running Rebels for the past 5 years. I've been waiting for the downfall. I'm going to say they go 8-4 just because I know for a fact that if they go 6-6, I won't be surprised. If they go 5-7, I won't be surprised. Austin Simmons, fucking PU, that guy is super, super stinky. And also, their one of their co-offensive coordinators, I don't know if you guys know, Charlie Weiss, it's his son. If you remember Big Charlie Weiss, he was a big fat idiot. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I think, now when I was doing my schedule and I was talking about this team, I think their defense is legit. And when I was doing the schedule and I had them winning, I had them beating LSU just because it's like one of those stupid games that LSU should just pound them, and then Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin just win because it's at home. It's just stupid shit like that is what happens. I think they lose to Georgia, they lose to Oklahoma, they lose to South Carolina, and they lose to Mississippi State. Those are their 4 guaranteed losses. I think they have a couple toss-ups. But I have them at 8-4 only because I want them to suck more than anything in the world. I want them to suck worse than Steve wants Texas A&M to stink.
That's fair.
Anyone else got any comments on Ole Miss before we head on to the next team?
I think a team favorite here by, I would say, at least three guys in here. I don't know about a fourth.
All right, so let's move on to next one here. We got South Carolina. Looking at their win totals, line is set at 7.5 at plus 115. Schedule wise, Virginia Tech and a neutral site to start the year. South Carolina State at home, Vanderbilt at home, Mizzou on the road, Kentucky at home, LSU on the road, Oklahoma and Bama at home, and then rounding out the last 4 games of the year are Ole Miss and A&M on the road and at home versus Coastal and Clemson. Who had South Carolina? Joe, how do we feel about Lenora Sellers and the Gamecocks?
This is the most disrespectful win total line I've seen in a long time. This is incredibly disrespectful.
Joe gets it.
Listen, I'm an Illinois fan, and I'm forever Brett Bielema hitting Shane Beamer with the T-bar while Shane Beamer's being held back and screaming at Bielema like the white chick yelling at the cat sitting at the dinner table meme. Great stuff. I'm just like, listen, here's the thing though, man. Lenora Sellers, at one point last year, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, what is it with this dude? And then I watched him do crazy stuff for like 2 months straight, and I'm like, all right, I get it. I don't know if Lenora Sellers is an NFL player, but that dude damn sure is a good college quarterback. And someone tell me what I'm missing. I understand they lost some really good players on their defense, but you could argue their best ones are still there. And I know they lost Raheem Sanders, but Sellers' running game plus whoever they put back there is going to be, I would assume, to be just fine. This team, I think,
set up for Faisana as RB1, Augustave as RB2. Right,
and this team is Altline University. Like, we are like, let's cash it out, brother. 9+ wins, 10+ wins, SEC champs. There's a world that exists where Thanksgiving weekend, final weekend of the regular season, South Carolina versus Clemson is a game that actually has stakes, where the winner is going to be in the driver's seat to get a bye. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be that important. I think South Carolina is legit. I think they're a playoff team. 7.5. Look, maybe I'm crazy. And if they go 7-5, we can come back to this moment and we can all dance on my grave. I think this line is incredibly disrespectful. Plus money. Like, I don't get it. So someone can tell me what I'm missing. Don is clearly on my side here. I saw him fist pumping. I think Sellers is awesome.
So
I think this team is really good, and this team's winning 10 games. They might be the best team in the hot take. I think they're going to win the SEC. Like, that's what I think's going to happen.
That's for sure a hot take. I got them in 9-3. And I don't want to like take any like thing away from all of your hype that you have for this team. I just think that there's a couple games in here that I think this time next year, with Sellers coming back in his junior year, I think against some of these teams, I think you can make the argument that they could be a top 3 team. I think they're just like I think the tier right now is Georgia, Texas, LSU in no particular order. That's tier 1. Tier 2, I think, is Bama, and I think that they're right there. I think them and Bama are like 2A, 2B in the second tier. I think they're that good. I think like you said, the over 7.5 is easy money, Sniper. Don't even stress about it because they're going to win their first 3, probably their first 4, maybe their first 5.
They might win their first 6. They might win their first 7. They might be undefeated going into the Bama game. I know you love LSU a little bit more than LSU, I do.
If the game was at South Carolina, I would have had South Carolina beating LSU. The fact that it's at LSU.
I think that LSU game, like right now, the time is TBD. If it's a night game in Death Valley, I have a lot less faith. If it's a day game, then I can see it.
If South Carolina is 5-0 going into that game after coming off a bye, that is going to be a 7:30 start time.
Oh yeah, that game will be insane. And I got a little carried away there. I don't have them winning the SEC because of a certain friend of ours in this group chat. I think his team, I wouldn't say laps the rest of the conference, but I think there's a pretty sizable gap. I think they're in tier 1 by themselves when I actually think about it.
Me and Vanderbilt.
Exactly. But yeah, I think South Carolina's really good, and I think they're a playoff team. And also, I'm gonna just be honest, I kind of want. Can you imagine after what happened in the Citrus Bowl for South Carolina going to Champaign for a round 1 playoff game? Could you imagine?
Let's slow your roll there. Let's slow your roll there. Fucking Illinois is sniffing the college football playoff. Stop.
I can't wait to do the Big Ten.
Steve, I want to go to you because you had a wave of facial expressions there while Joe was going on his rant. It went from confusion to concern, so I want to give you the floor.
The 10-2 talk.
I just want to step back.
I respect the team. Like Joe, I respect the team. As Kev, South Carolina's a team that we were backing in spots. And I like Sellers. I'm a big Sellers fan, especially pointed out the way that second half of that season went. The Clemson game, he put the team on his back. He made some grown man plays. It's the ceiling's there. What you're saying, the ceiling's there. I was just riding that emotional roller coaster just because it was just like.
I was there. I got a little too hot. Too hot. I'm sorry.
I love it, man. Listen. Don can't be the only one dropping hot takes on the show.
Here's the thing for this team. Here's the thing for this team that would worry me is you get games late in the season, like going to Ole Miss and to Texas A&M in back-to-back weeks. Like, imagine if they beat Bama, which, hey, last year at Bama, they almost stole it. So it's not going to be – by the time we get there, maybe they're slight favorites. I don't know. We'll see. But that's 2 straight road games after that. There's a world where, those types of games, are a little, like, too big for their britches, too much, too fast, too soon, not ready to handle their business type games. You know what I mean? Like, dumb losses. Like, this team probably has the highest ceiling all combined with the highest. If they had a really stupid loss, you know what I mean? Like that would probably be.
I think the bumps they went through last year will get them ready for this year coming up.
That's what I'm also feeling like. That's why I'm also. But
those dumb losses I think they had to
That's-
learn. They had to learn. From
that's kind of where I have them. I have them in the same place as Dawn, as like a tier. I have them in that tier 2 team, just because for me the tier 2 of the SEC is like one or two bad breaks or good breaks can decide if you're competing for that playoff spot or if you're trying to get a good bowl game. That's not like the Bahama Bowl on December 22nd. Like, and that's kind of where I have them at. Like, I always
goddamn Bahama Bowl, motherfucker.
not this, but you understand what I'm saying. If you're South Carolina, you're shooting for a January 1st game or a December 31st game. I just, my biggest worry with this team is like in 5 years we're gonna look back at this team and say one break away from going 10-2 or 9-3. You know
Like
what I mean?
it's
Like one
a missed
like
opportunity.
Like oh shit, they just fell apart in one quarter and they couldn't come back. And then we're talking about like putting them in that conversation of like, man, could they have beaten this team? Could they have been there?
Because South Carolina,
last year.
Yeah. Like I
I
feel
mean,
like
this
we're
is
gonna.
for
I feel like that's where I always see South Carolina at. Is that like man?
Nah, dog. Next year is gonna be their year.
But I just mean from a schedule standpoint, there's not a game on their schedule that's they're gonna lose.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
No, there is.
Which one? They went into
Coastal
Alabama last
Carolina.
year. Probably should have won that game and blew
They're
it.
going
Like
like
an undercover Hokies fan, man. You know,
you're gonna lose to Clemson.
I mean, LSU at home, yes. If it's a night game, that's kind of a death sentence for any team. But
They're gonna lose to Clemson 100%.
see, they
it's at home though.
they were competing with Clemson last year. I
Don't care.
I
don't think they're. I think they have a bunch of toss-up
and
games.
I think they struggle with Coastal. Like I don't think they're gonna lose it, but I think they struggle with Coastal because they're gonna be looking ahead to that Clemson game.
Here's the thing.
The
Like,
one-
Will
I
you
agree with
stop
the,
with your goddamn fucking traps in
Trap
the middle of the
games,
drive?
he
Fucking
loves
relax.
look ahead spots, man.
Dude,
He loves
look ahead spots. Love this you
He's the
coming.
king
'cause
of the
that's where they
trap
make
game.
all their fucking money on.
king of the trap game.
Speaking of
He-
fucking traps, can we
Coastal
talk about the
Carolina
trappiest-
first half. Mark it now, July 9th.
Can we talk about the trappiest team in the SEC? Can we talk about the Tennessee Volunteers?
Yeah, we can move on to Tennessee. Win total is at 8.5 at plus 105.
Okay.
New quarterback, as everyone's seen, Joey Aguilar. He was at App State, right? If I remember right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Joey Bag of
Got-
Donuts.
Yeah, Syracuse in week 1, neutral site.
Just don't talk about their schedule.
Okay.
Just don't. It's fine.
Okay.
Who gets the
Don-
Tennessee Volunteers? Is it me?
Don, you get the floor. You're on Tennessee.
And
You have Tennessee
I'm
on the
gonna
thing.
tell you like this. They had a prize possession in Nico Amalava, and something happened. I don't know the full story. Something happened. He demanded a new deal. Tennessee was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna pay you money, even though you gave us a 10-3 record." So what did they do? They let this guy go to UCLA of all places, which is wild. And then they get fucking the guy who went from App State to UCLA and struggled to UCLA to come to fucking Tennessee to be a starting quarterback and Josh Heupel's offense. This team is going to be lucky to be in a bowl game. I got them at 7-5, but that's just based off of how bad their non-con is. They're going to get fucking mollywopped in the SEC this year. This team is not good. I think defensively they're fine. They have one of the better defenses. Don't get me wrong. Offensively, when you have a running back by committee, you don't have a Dylan Sampson to take over for you. This team is going to struggle offensively. That's what's going to cost them games early. 7-5 is the ceiling, the floor. This chance the team goes 5-7. I'm not going to lie to you. This team is going to be the worst that Tennessee's been in the Josh Heupel era.
You don't think their defense is going to save them in some spots?
Well, the thing is, that's why I have them at 75 because I do think their defense is going to save them.
Okay.
And it's what, 8.5?
You think they're
Yeah,
falling that
plus
far
money.
off in their run game by losing Sampson?
I have them
Sampson was
losing.
nice, Kev.
No, I have them losing to
I know,
Georgia
I'm
for
just-
sure. I have them losing to Bama. I have them losing to the better team in Tennessee and Vanderbilt. I had them losing to Kentucky, and then I had 2 toss-up wins, one at home against Oklahoma and one at Florida. But I have them listed as 8-4, but I think they're going to go 7-5.
My only pushback would be like, how much worse is their offense going to be? Because it's not like they lit the world on fire last year in the SEC.
Well, their fucking receiving room is a lot worse this year than it was last year.
I don't disagree. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, but I also think the thought of Nico Iamaleava as a player is, as of today, as of July 9th, the year of our Lord and Savior 2025, I think the idea of Nico as a player is way, way better than the actual guy. And who knows? Again, maybe he comes out and UCLA's awesome and you can clip this and I'll eat shit. There were a lot of moments last year where I was like, hey, Nico, can you carry this team over the top? He made a couple plays against Alabama, but outside of that, it was a whole lot of, Nico, let me down, bud. But who knows? We'll see. Maybe its offense is quarterback deficient, but also if his quarterback is just brutally terrible, then yeah, that's tough.
All right.
Anything else on the Vols before we head to Steve's favorite team?
We're talking about Texas A&M again?
We're talking about the Aggies. Looking at their not a lot movement transfer-wise. Y'all probably know more than me. I know Conception left NC State. Jacob Zenu left UAB.
Let me talk about the Longhorns here.
They're coming up next. I'm letting Steve warm up.
A&M first. Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're on here alphabetically.
About the Longhorns, 12-0.
Next. Oh, my God.
A&M.
Calm down. You're going to lose week 1 Ohio State. Stop.
A&M win total is at 8.5 plus 125. Schedule looks at UTSA, Utah State, at Notre Dame, Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida. 3 straight road games against Arkansas, LSU, Mizzou, South Carolina, and Sanford at home before the game at Texas to end the season. Who is this one? It's Kev. Kev.
We haven't heard Kev in a while.
He's back, baby.
We haven't heard from him since Bama.
Feels like it.
No, I don't think they get to 9 wins personally. I think 8-4 is their ceiling. I actually have them going 7-5, but I'm not really sold on Marcel Reed. I know he torched LSU, but I don't believe that he can throw the ball. I think teams will be able to start putting some schemes against him and kind of stop this offense. I'm high on Conception. I think he's a really good wide receiver, but I just don't know if Reed can get him the ball enough to make a difference. Maybe they use him like, the Commanders are going to use Deebo Samuel and let him do some running game stuff, a lot of screens. Maybe that's how they get some offense going. I don't see them having that good of a season this year with the schedule they have and who they have at quarterback. I think their defense is solid. Should be able to keep them into some games, is Reuben Owens back and healthy or Moss? I can't remember which one got hurt last year, but
Le'Veon Moss was the one that got banged up last year.
Okay.
But Reuben Owens is. I mean, they were both kind of banged up.
Yeah, I thought they were.
Reuben Owens will be there, but I think Le'Veon Moss is again. If he stays healthy, that offense is going to go. And quick question for you, Kevin: are you a Colin Klein guy, yay or nay?
Sorry, say that again.
Are you a Colin Klein guy as offensive coordinator?
Not really. No, I don't really like their offense and their play calling. I just don't think Reed gives them enough options personally. So,
quick shout out here. I've watched he shouldn't be their third string quarterback, but their third string quarterback, Miles O'Neill. I watched him play. He's a local kid. Went to a town about 20 minutes from me. Seen him play in high school. He's a stud. I think he should get some legs there. Because I'm like you. I don't trust Reed. I think they go 7-5. Their schedule starts off. So you'll start off 2-0, and then they're going to lose to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
They'll lose to Auburn. They'll lose to LSU. They'll lose to Missouri, and then they're going to be 6-5 going into the last game of the regular season. And I'm calling my shot now, July 9th, 2025, and this isn't a dig at Steve or anything like that. It's just how I think the cookie's going to crumble this year. I think Mike Elko is going to get the better of Steve Sarkisian, and I think that Texas A&M will beat Texas at Texas this year.
Let it rip.
He's today's like every Friday I sat here and you betrayed me.
Beyblade, let it rip, my boy.
Is that our transition into Texas?
Yeah.
All right. We don't have to go over the schedule, Steve. Let it rip.
All right, guys, we're gonna break them down to build them up. Right. Last year we had some issues. We weren't a perfect team whatsoever. We fumbled the ball too much. We had 25 fumbles in the season. 12 of them were lost. All right. That's horrible. We got to cut that down. Also, we had consistent play from our O-line. It was just too many penalties, too many issues. It was frustrating watching them when we would go on a drive and we would have to back it up because there was a holding call. Then there was issues in the red zone. We just couldn't score at certain times against teams in the red zone, and we would march down the field. Think about that Ohio State game. March down the field, don't convert to any points. That's just the problem. Now, going into this season, we'll start the quarterback position. High expectations with Arch Manning. Arch Manning is prepared to handle these high expectations. He's got a level head. We didn't see him enough to get the praise that he's getting from the media right now. For the 2 games he did start, we saw glimpses. The guy's got wheels. I love his mobility. Quinn Ewers was killing me because he was standing like a statue at times, so that helps out. They also helped out with the O-line. They retooled some of that. They brought in a new center. I love the center. We're replacing pretty much all our starters except for one. What is it? Trevor Goolsby. He came in with some spot starts last year. He looked decent. I think he's gonna be in that tackle spot. He's gonna be important. Our running back room. I'm very excited about this running back room. Trey Weiser's gonna be back. He stepped up big last season. CJ Baxter's coming back from injury. I don't have the expectations I had on him from last year because he missed the entire season. But having them as a 1-2 punch, along with Kristen Clark and Jarrett Gibson, I like that running back room. Wide receiver room with Ryan Wingo, deep threat. I'm excited to see him and Arch connect. The guy's a speedster. Tight end, that's where I'm a little bit worried because we lose Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm was a great tight end for us, but we do have some replacements. Sorry about that. Jordan Washington, 6'4", 265 pounds, big
How do you
boy.
go from Michael Terry to Jordan Washington?
Well, I said the wrong position. That was Michael Terry is a wide receiver.
This guy.
Don't be mad at me. Don't throw me off, bro. Because I'm gonna when Texas A&M gets their ass kicked last game of the season.
Step 1 of having a good season is Steve will not have the game on while on live.
I'm not gonna talk to you.
Steve won't be on the games.
Yeah, the games will not be on. And if we, when we're playing in the college football playoff, I won't be there. You won't see me.
Steve's just going to be commenting his takes.
Steve, I hope you're aware that when they lose to Ohio State in week 1, I'm going to drunk FaceTime call you and be there. Technique, what happened? I'm gonna do that to you every time Texas loses for the rest of eternity.
That's fair, man. Listen, man. Listen, my
That's
mom
going on TikTok.
told me when I was in elementary school, man. You can't give it out. You can't take it, bro. I'm gonna give it out. I should be able to take it. So I'm gonna pick those fucking calls up if I'm not drunk. Because if I'm drunk, then it's just gonna be just a shit show going back and forth. And who the hell is Steve yelling at? Who the fuck are these two dudes just yelling at? We'd be like,
It's gonna be
Kev on
fun.
this call. It's gonna be
It's gonna
Kev
be
in the
fun.
call.
We'll see. See, I'm not gonna expose my social life out and who I don't lay next to, but that's a different story for a different day.
I'm just gonna randomly get a notification that says we're live, and it's just Steve and Don arguing drunk.
So, how did these two get? How did these do it?
I'm gonna get a text like, "How the fuck did they get the login?"
I'm telling you what.
Who's broadcasting on the for frequency's sake right now? Yep, get done.
It's just fucking shirtless Don and angry drunk Steve.
Arch do another 2 picks in the red zone, man.
Why is the banner watching the W right now? Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
All
On
right.
defense, our best player, Anthony Hill, will be back. That is the best
You're
player.
still talking about this team, dude? Like,
Absolutely.
oh,
Absolutely.
this team is going 10-2. They're gonna lose.
you're
the SEC
talking about
title
this more than
game.
Nimsy did about the Yankees.
Whoa. First off, don't listen.
Steve, I'll bet Steve, we're on the same side real quick. Danny, go a few seconds right up there.
Don't you
You know
know?
damn well Nimsy spent we did a 2-hour show once and Nimsy spent an hour and a half talking about the goddamn New York Yankees.
Talking about making trades that were just the crazy. No, come on, bro.
And Adley
Don
Rutschman for
Don had to be like, "All right, we're going to the AL West now."
You know damn
no,
well.
they traded Adley Rutschman for the ghost of Ugev Rubina and Hideki Matsui.
The big Decky.
Jorge
So-
Posada's
so-
left shin guard.
So all jokes aside, and being honest, I don't think they will win that Ohio State game playing at the Horseshoe. I
don't like this. I don't like this, Steve. I want 12-0, Steve. Where is he? I need that energy.
No, hold on. This is sports analytic. Just bringing it, throwing out the emotion, man. I have to do this for Texas, all right? Exactly. Put on the blue blockers.
I was the only one allowed. I thought I was the only one allowed to be a computer nerd around here.
No, Steve, Danny,
playing-
there's a difference. If Steve's over here talking about how Arch can throw with the wind at his back at a certain angle, with the exit velocity, with the WCR plus, that's a different story. Dude,
You just threw
Danny,
baseball
from now on,
terminology into a
Danny,
quarterback
from now
throwing
on,
the
I
football.
might need the double pair glasses. We're talking to you about fucking sports, dude.
Dude, I started showing like using like these like advanced baseball stats, and Don stopped the show. He goes, "Those aren't real. You're making these terms up." He's like, "Shut the fuck up."
Dude, I'm sick of it.
It's like, what the fuck is a B war?
All right, so Steve, before I interrupt you for a fourth time, we'll talk about the Texas Longhorns. What do you have their record at?
I have them at 10-2.
Okay, so just like me.
Yep.
What's
but
that second
we have
game you
different-
have
I
them
think we
losing?
have different games because I actually have them stubbing their toe against Florida. I think we beat Georgia at Georgia for a revenge game.
I
But
have
we-
them beating Georgia.
I thought you had.
I had them losing the first game
You
and
have
losing
us-
the last
but,
game.
yeah, our difference is Texas A&M because we're not losing to fucking Texas A&M.
All right. Well, when Marcel Reed throws 5 times, you guys lose by 30. Don't come crying to me.
He threw 5 times last time we played him, bro. That game. Oh God.
I'm hoping my boy Miles O'Neal will be the starter by then. He'll go Johnny Manziel on you bitch asses.
We don't acknowledge Johnny Manziel, man. I don't even know
Should.
who that is. I don't even know
Good draft day,
Johnny
Johnny Manziel, Heisman winner.
I don't
When's
even
the
know
last
that.
time Texas had a Heisman winner?
I don't even know who that guy is.
This year?
That was like a down year in college football. Good, congratulations, Texas A&M.
Okay. When's the last time Texas had a Heisman winner?
Man, listen, I'm not going to talk about opinionated awards.
When's the last time the
and-
Texans won a national championship?
Well,
Hey, remember that time Colt McCoy was really
The
good?
greatest
and they
day-
lost
you mean
to
the greatest
Graham
day of my
Harrell,
life?
Crabtree at Texas
Four,
Tech?
4-12 against USC in the Rose Bowl? Oh, absolutely. I know when that game was. That was the greatest day of my life. Don't you talk about the things I love and rub them through the dirt, man. Because listen, I'll attack Boston.
Listen, I'll help you. That's the difference.
I know. That's
I'll help you.
do it.
I will help you, bro. You pick the sport, and I will help you. You pick the sport, and I will help you. I
He
will
don't
help you.
care about your Pepperidge Farms or whatever.
I literally
yeah,
sat there in my friend group when we drafted Mac Jones, and I said, I won't be a fan until this white pussy isn't our starting quarterback. And they were like, "Oh, we made
Now
a
you
plan
got
with
Drake
Mac
May.
Jones." I go, "Okay, let's see how he does in Buffalo." Oh, he stunk. Oh, Mac Jones might not be a good quarterback. Mac Jones might be a backup and out of this league. Oh, who could have saw this coming?
Hey man,
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I'm just gonna follow that up by saying I think Texas is gonna go 11-1 at worst, and
Well, it's your funeral. I'm hoping that everybody in this chat can realize that Texas isn't going to win the national title this year because they have what's called the Steve Sarkisian problem.
I get what you're saying, but like
I'm not acknowledging it.
I don't think I don't think Sark.
I'm moving
Lord
on.
Savior right now is Steve Sarkisian.
I
I'm
think
moving on
Sark.
right now.
I think Sark's turned them into a nightmare. Like I think they're best. I think
Listen.
I got too ahead of my skis earlier with South Carolina. I think Texas is in a tier of their own in the SEC.
Don,
I don't think it's a gap between them in the second tier, but I think Texas is the best team, and it's.
There's some
I
off
think
the
they're
field
going
factors your guys are missing, man. First off, last year Steve Sarkisian was separated from his wife. He went through a hard time, right? And then around the Texas A&M game, there was rumors that they're getting back together, and now things are working out. And guess what? They have a child. He's got dad strength now. He's got a whole new focus.
Let's go. Hey, I'm a Sark guy.
It's another level, Don. It's another. Listen.
Wait
If this
until
was
the
last year,
year.
Don, I would be right with you. But now, my man's got his girl back. He's got a child.
So that means he's going to be tired.
Shut up with this bullshit. Being tired, all right?
Retort. Yeah. When was this kid born?
During the off season.
During the offseason? So it wasn't during the Ohio State game.
No,
He wasn't alive to see the Ohio State game and how bad they looked.
no, he wasn't.
So you think that this infant who won't remember a lick of his dad coaching Arch Manning at Texas is going to lead them back to the promised land where Mac Brown had him once upon a time with Vince Young? And Colt McCoy that one year that they shouldn't have gone there?
Man, listen, man. God works in mysterious ways.
God's
He's
gonna
gonna
work
come back
mysterious
from
ways that way.
Nashville. He's gonna be talking
understand-
about like Sarkisian's like zodiac signs and shit. It's gonna lead them.
Here's the thing I would say as to mediate the two of these jagaloons. I would just be like, how many teams do you? And I understand a lot of what is happening right now is the piss being taken, but I would realistically look at this and say, how many teams do you actually look at right now and say, yeah, I think they're better than Texas? I don't think it's that many, if any at all. That's just me personally. I think they're going to go 11.
So right there.
I think they're going to win week 1. A jagaloon.
What the fuck is that?
I don't fucking know. It's cool to say. Let's Urban Dictionary it and see if I accidentally slurred you.
There's not a chance you even know how to spell jagaloon.
Trump stepper. It's a slang term primarily used to describe someone foolish, incompetent, or clumsy.
So basically, you're calling Steve incompetent for believing in Texas. So you're proving my point.
I called you both jagaloons because you both have them 10-2, and you're wrong because they're going to go 11-1.
I would see I'm at the point where like I want Steve to like put his balls on the table and says, "Give me Texas, I'll give you the field, and I'll throw money. I'll throw money down." But Steve doesn't have the wibbles to do that right now.
No. See, what you're doing is a classic bait. All right, you're trying to bait me into this, and I don't fall for that. For Texas, I don't fall for the bait.
I'm not trying to bait you into anything. I just remember personally Jack Sawyer picking off Quinn Ewers, and now you think Quinn Ewers is going to be an NFL starting quarterback for the Dolphins this year.
Yeah, because Tua's gonna get knocked the hell out.
Yeah,
I
but
was
they're
going to
trade
say,
for
as
Dylan
someone who
Gabriel.
kind of supports the Dolphins, I also think Quinn Ewers is probably going to start games this year. It's because Tua's head is made of mashed potatoes.
Come on.
No, it's just his brain, not his head.
Tomato,
All
tomato.
right, so let's move on to our final team here, Vanderbilt.
Are you sure the content's right here talking about this Texas Longhorns team?
I know we've been talking about it for 25 minutes.
I don't know if we want to talk about Clark Lee and the Commodores, the better team out of Tennessee. Make sure you tell people that tonight, Steve.
I will.
If you see Diego
Anchor
Pavia on
down.
the street, you let me know.
Yeah, while you're out there in the streets, you need to anchor down, bro. Tell them to anchor down.
Piss and Pavia.
So looking at the team, they have their over under is at 5.5. Schedule has Charleston Southern, Virginia Tech.
We don't need all that with Vanderbilt, dude. It's fine. Just keep talking about them.
I don't have much to say because I don't think they're the best team in Tennessee.
How many wins do you got them having?
I think they go 5-7.
All right, I don't disagree with you there. I think Diego Pavia, though, is fun. He's electric. He's a gamer. Cedric Alexander is dope. He's going to be their bell cow. I think the receiver room is a little better. They got Eli Storage back at tight end. Offensive line is where I have worried because they have 4 guys that are coming in via the transfer portal. And they have tackles and guards shifting sides. Like, everything's up and down. I got to win in 5 games, though.
Over under 2.5 SEC teams, 3 making the playoff. I just made that number up in my head.
I have 3, maybe 4 making it.
I guess the number probably, Danny, you'd be better at setting this than I would. It'd probably be 3.5, right? If you were actually wanting to get action
considering
on it.
how many teams considering how many teams win totals are at 8.5, yeah, it'd probably be 3.
3.5.
I think they can get 3, maybe 4. I think Bama is that questionable 4th team that gets in. But I think Georgia, I think LSU, and yeah, I know I said that they kind of stink, but Steve's Texas Longhorns will get into college football playoff.
So, before we wrap up, final predictions SEC championship game. Who plays and who wins?
LSU, Texas, LSU plus 800. They just match up better.
Texas over South Carolina.
Texas over LSU.
Oh, Kev.
You're giving him
Breaking his
fire,
heart.
Kev.
You're breaking his heart. You're breaking your old man's heart.
Give me the Longhorns. It doesn't matter who we play.
Get on, Wake up.
Yeah, baby.
I can't wait to go to that Texas A&M game and watch Texas A&M beat them. I'm going to be the happiest camper.
What about you, Danny? What do you got, bro? Where are your loyalties at?
I got LSU over Texas.
God damn.
My motherfucking fool.
Can't
A
wait.
lot of LSU love in the chat.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Can't
Well,
wait.
with my entire family being from Baton Rouge, I feel like if I said anything else other than
Yeah,
LSU,
also, he's a fucking poor New Orleans Saints fan, so of course he's going to take LSU.
yeah.
It's funny you say that, Danny, because a lot of people on my dad's side of the family all went to either LSU or Southern University. So,
My mom is secretly an Alabama supporter. She just doesn't want to admit it.
ooh,
Yeah,
That's just because she thought Nick Saban was hot once upon a time. That's all.
probably. All right. Well, that'll be it for us here on the Golden Ticket Show. Make sure you guys tune in next Wednesday. We'll be breaking down another conference. Don't know if it'll be
Probably
Big Ten. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Big Ten.
Ooh, actually, we have to talk off air because I am away next Wednesday, so we have to either I'm pulling a Steve or we're gonna have to work something out.
We'll figure something out. Yeah. So hope tentatively next Wednesday we'll be doing a show going over Big Ten. Joe can gush about his Illini for an hour.
Oh, don't worry, I'll calm him down. I'll talk him off the ledge.
No, Joe, I got your back, man. Let's go to fighting the Illini, man.
Fighting Birds, baby.
So make sure you guys follow. And there goes
Okay.
Kev. Hey, look! It took all.
He
It took
made
all.
He
It
made
took
it 2 hours.
10 seconds
Oh,
left.
2 hours. Oh, he made it.
That
Don,
means-
Don jinxed me.
I didn't fucking say
I almost
shit, bro.
made it. I almost
I didn't
made
say
it.
shit, bro. Don't fucking stop this shit,
You
bro.
said at
Just
the
because-
beginning of the show.
No, I said
And
it
he
before
made
we
it
got on
2
air
hours.
because
I
we
don't
were in
know,
here
man.
before you.
That
for the
means
first
we
time
can
in
finally-
the history.
we can finally put the banner up. Make sure you guys follow all of us on our socials. You can follow Joe at Joe the Show Winkle and Joe Winkle QCSN, right? Is your other one?
Yeah, Joe the Show QCSN. That's the one that's the serious one.
And if you want his spicy pics, you can find him on OnlyFans at Southbound to Down.
Exactly. Yeah. We show you what's really southbound, and I will just say this: nothing is down over there. If you catch my drift, boys and girls.
I'm telling your fiance.
What do you mean,
think
fiance?
about
Why do you think she's a fiance? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't get it, man. It's always the ones that are like getting ready to get married that just don't get it.
Yeah.
You can follow Don over at the Don Corleone Jones on Twitter. You can follow Steve at Fast Breaks, Kev at Heels0809, and me at Gotham Gambling.
One last thing, we haven't talked about it, but last thing I will say tonight is shout out to my boy Fast Breaks. Finally eclipsing 1,000 followers on Twitter. We didn't give a round of applause for that. We'll get that in here.
Hey, shout
I'd like
out to you
thank,
three. Kev, I don't know if you've been putting anything in it, but shout out to the boys on here for the newsletter the last week. The lunch line. I saw y'all dropping some bet and breakfast stuff. I told Brinks, Danny, to make sure to hit you up for the racing stuff, but he missed you this last weekend. So
Yeah,
hopefully this
we
weekend
got to get
up.
him on. Him and Steve
Yeah.
on some. Him, Steve, and Andrew on some racing D-Gem stuff.
Sorry,
Great.
last thing, make sure to follow the Substack. I'm dropping Heat Check, which is my NBA Summer League bets.
There we go.
And yeah, so lunch line, heat check. Me and Joe will be doing our initial college football previews on the Gotham Gambling page on there. Once again, make sure you guys sign up for it. The Fantasy Football Charity League in the top right by Steve's head. We have multiple leagues. We even have ladies' leagues for all the ladies that want to play. You can play against me. You can play against Joe. You can play against any one of our members of For Frequency's Sake. We have hundreds of leagues set up for you guys, all for a good cause. Make sure you guys also follow us on For Frequency's Sake everywhere. With that being said,